Hey guys, Ginger here. We're going to do another quick little Ginger Snap. As promised, the main focus of this short little episode is going to be on Advent. And just a little teaser, got something coming up later on after we get back to a regular schedule. I'll tell you about that at the end of the show. Before we get going, I want to strongly recommend that you guys go and follow Shannon Joy. She's, I think, the Shannon Joy Show or something like that on Twitter. She's got she's had a daily talk show on the radio, 10 different stations over in New York State for some time. She recently lost that gig basically at Thanksgiving. And it's really too bad. She's a really good commentator. I'm familiar with her because she shows up regularly on the Steve Deace Show. So a big fan of that show. Shannon always brings a good, solid, sober perspective that is uncompromising and isn't really willing to shill for anyone, which is probably part of the reason why she lost the show. These kind of things happen. That's part of the reason why I'm glad in a way that I'm getting into this sort of thing late in life, because I already have a day job. I already have a job that supports my family. I don't need to make anybody happy with this. I can just tell it like I see it, and that's a very good thing. The downside is, because it's not my full-time job, I don't have the time to do all the things I would like to do. The trade-offs, you know? So anyway, I would go and check that out. You can also find her website at theshannonjoy.com. Moving on, so Advent. A lot of you may not know what this is. This is still primarily a Protestant country, and insofar as it isn't a Protestant country, it is a non-Christian country. So the concept may be very unfamiliar to you. What Advent is, it's primarily a Catholic thing. There are some Protestants that actually get into Advent a little bit. And anyway, the video wigged out a little bit for a second, at least for me. So Protestant, again, it's mostly a Catholic thing. There's some Protestants that do it, actually. It's interesting every time I hear about it. And what it is, it's a penitential season right before Christmas. And the reasons for this are various. First of all, let me back up a moment. The Catholic Church starts celebrating the ever-living heck out of Christmas on Christmas, at least officially, according to the liturgical calendar. Okay. Basically, Christmas season starts on Christmas, when we celebrate Jesus's birthday on the date that we have assigned to his birth. Whether or not it's actually the day that he was born on, who knows, really. I've heard really good arguments in favor of December 25th or somewhere close to it birthday, as a matter of fact. I've also heard arguments that seem convincing that it might have been in the spring, as a matter of fact. Either way, whatever. The specific day doesn't matter a ton. It's one of those things that'd be good to know, but it's hardly essential. So anyway, the church starts celebrating the birthday on the birthday. And then what happens is, you've heard of the 12 days of Christmas? Well, that's specifically the days in between Christmas and Epiphany. What is Epiphany? Epiphany is the day that the wise men actually showed up. See, and this isn't meant to be, certainly isn't meant to be a gotcha thing or anything like that. A lot of people, myself included, grew up with the misconception that the wise men actually showed up on the same day that Jesus was born. It's incorrect. They actually showed up to, a week and a half, 2 weeks, however long after. We decided it's 12 days, whatever the exact time. I'm not sure. I don't think the scriptures are clear on it. For that matter, the scriptures aren't clear that it was 3 wise men. We just assume because of the gold, frankincense, and myrrh thing. We just know that it was more than one because it says wise men. And 3 is a reasonable assumption given the number of gifts. So anyway, so we got between Christmas and Epiphany 12 days. That's the 12 days of Christmas. That's when the church is primarily celebrating Christmas, is during that time frame. And we actually celebrate Epiphany it's not always exactly 12 days either, at least in the Latin Rite Church, which is, if you think of Catholics, if you know a Catholic, they're probably Latin Rite. Someday maybe I'll do an episode on all the different rites of the church. There's more than you think, but by far the biggest one is the Latin. Anyway, so there's that. The church again celebrates Christmas, starting Christmas and after Christmas, and as it turns out, it actually in a lot of countries, a lot of cultures, it goes far beyond the 12 days. It actually goes all the way into February to the Feast of the Presentation, which was when Mary presented Jesus in the temple. You'll know that story from, I don't remember which or how many of the Gospels it's recounted in, but Mary and Joseph, they bring Jesus to the temple, fulfilling, I think it was like 40 days after his birth, if I remember correctly. I'm doing this off the top of my head. I'm not, so I would have to double check to be certain. But you're supposed to present them to the priests and offer the sacrifice of it's like a pig or a goat or 2 turtle doves, as it would happen. And that is usually celebrated, if memory serves, February 2nd. We kind of call it Groundhog's Day. I have no idea why that got all mixed up. None whatsoever. So, and also you'll also hear it referred to as Michaelmas or Candlemas as well. So the church actually celebrates Christmas for a long time. It just does it starting on Christmas and for a long time after that. It's for like, over a month after Christmas. So there's actually a lot of time, a lot for Catholics in the Catholic liturgical calendar to celebrate Christmas. Now, for whatever reason, here in America, we flipped it. We totally flipped it on its head, and all the Christmas celebrating is done now before Christmas. And these days, once upon a time, it was pretty standard that, after Thanksgiving, boom, the Christmas decorations show up in the stores. People start putting their lights up and everything. And it's a great and wonderful and beautiful thing. And that's when everybody celebrates Christmas, from Thanksgiving to actual Christmas. And then the day after Christmas, Feast of St. Stephen the Martyr, the first martyr for Christ, we celebrate his feast the day after Christmas, as it turns out. And anyway, probably a good little reminder of what it is that Christians are actually called to. We're called to that kind of faith, that kind of martyrdom, if necessary, and to follow Stephen's example of even forgiving the people that are literally killing you, as you're literally forgiving your killers as they're in the process of killing you. Again, following Jesus's example. Anyway, it's just interesting that here in America, which again is not always big on which hasn't always been big on Christmas. The Puritans, of course, many of you may know, made Christmas illegal. It was considered far too papist. And again, there's reasons for that. Maybe I'll do another episode soon between now and Christmas on a little bit of the actual history of Christmas. I'd really like to actually respond in a way to some of the things that Jeremy Boring said on the latest episode of The Conversation. He said an awful lot about how Christmas actually came to be Christmas. Some of it was accurate. Some of it is not necessarily. I don't think he was trying to misinform. I think there's little tidbits that you don't necessarily pick up unless you're Catholic and you're getting some of these random little tidbits. But maybe that's an episode for another time, and that's not to cast any aspersions at the God King small g small k of the Daily Wire. So yeah, we just completely inverted the celebration of Christmas in this country, and of course it's almost entirely for commercial purposes, I should think. And and there's something to be said for the joyful anticipation of the birth of Christ. There's certainly nothing inherently wrong with that. I'd certainly rather have that than no celebration before or after. But the purpose for the establishment of Advent is so that we kind of put ourselves in the place of the rest of the world before Christ came, that we kind of remember and remember in a way, or try to put ourselves in the position of people who didn't know Christ, who didn't know the possibility of salvation, to sort of, as much as we can, turn back the clock in our own minds, so that we can better appreciate his birth when we get to it. When it's time to celebrate, we can glimpse in some dim way the great gift that really was given to us. And so Advent was established as it's called literally a little Lent. And of course, I'm sure even most Protestant viewers will be familiar with the Catholic concept of Lent, the penitential season before Easter. And, Advent is the little Lent, one, because it's shorter. It's usually only about 3.5 weeks, give or take. And the emphasis on penance isn't quite as big. It's much, much smaller. Although, you're still supposed to give something up. And, I usually, honestly, I give up something fairly minor during the Advent season. And so anyway, that's basically it. There's always conversation anytime Protestant and Catholic circles tend to cross when it comes to this sort of thing, whether the decoration should go up or anything like that early. And, well, hello, little one. How are you?
Good.
I am being visited by this little girl who was actually, she's an Advent baby. She was born during the Advent season. So anyway, I just wanted to give you guys a brief little thing on what it is, why it is you might see some Catholics getting a little annoyed with all the Christmas decorations and everything prior to Christmas, and not to mention with the whole ripping down of the tree like the day after that so many people do. And so she's just going to play with some stuff in the background there. Don't mind her. Actually, go ahead and mind her. She's way cuter than I am. So anyway, all right, hey, I'm trying to talk here. Anyway, goodness, where was I? Now, I should also say these are certain norms, they're customs, they're traditions, small t. These are not these aren't essential things. The whole, even things that are well established in tradition that many Protestants do, things like the Advent wreath, or no Christmas carols until Christmas Eve or whatever. These are traditions, small t. They shouldn't be elevated to the level of doctrine by any means. I think they're good ideas. I think they're good things to follow, but they're certainly not required. So, moral of the story is, I hope you understand a little bit more about what Advent is and why it is, and why some of these conversations might come up. And also that, honestly, if you want to set up your Christmas lights, go for it. Just please, after Thanksgiving. If the Christmas stuff is going full bore starting November 1st, man, just no. I can't handle it that long. There's just no way. 2 whole months. You're pushing it, people. You're really pushing it. So, the thing that I was going to say before I signed off. Faith Moore has just recently announced her first book is coming out, Saving Cinderella. It's about basically what feminists get wrong about the Disney princesses and how we can get it right again. I'm in the process of going through an advanced copy of it. As soon as my crazy, stupid, long hours with work are done, which is not going to be before Christmas, unfortunately. As soon as we get that done, we're going to work it out with the schedules, and we're going to have Faith on, and we're going to talk about it. So I'm really looking forward to that. I've had Faith on my other podcast, Coffee Books Repeat, before, just talking about Disney princesses in general. and it was a lot of fun. I look forward to having her on this show where we can really divulge into all the little tangents, that all the little cultural rabbit trails that are tied up into this thing. So to sum up, Advent, penitential season before Christmas, very much a Catholic thing. It's a very good idea. If you're not Catholic, well, hey, you know what? Give a look at it. Try out some of those small T traditions for yourself anyway. It's fun. Expect, actually, yes, I think I will do an episode, either next week's episode or maybe the week after. I'll do a little episode more on the history of Christmas, because why not? And check out Shannon Joy's show, and check out well, just pay attention for when we're going to have Faith Moore on. So until next time, keep fighting the good fight.